a podcast created by two guys brought together by movement, transformed into brotherhood. The boys share their authenticity as they deep dive into what it means to explore this human experience, shedding light on personal trials and accumulated wisdom. Conscious Collingwood is meant to provoke thought and insight to expand your personal awareness. Come along for the journey as Justin and Jeff exemplify what it means to be a man living wholeheartedly, balancing the divine, masculine, and feminine. Welcome to Conscious Collingwood. Oh, coffee, baby. I can't believe you're not a coffee drinker. But I respect that. You just...
I don't.
You never do a bump of heroin.
I don't do
heroin.
Justin. I don't do drugs.
Coffee's not a drug, dude.
It's a drug. It's on every corner of every town.
It's, you know what? Drugs is actually a very interesting concept within itself.
Do you not believe it's a drug because it gets misused by people? Caffeine, like
you can be addicted to sugar. You can be addicted to emotions. So I wouldn't call emotions a drug. A lot of people are addicted to anger. They just don't know it or are unconscious of it. And all addictions are unconscious.
Well, what about someone who needs 3 cups of coffee a day?
That's an addiction.
Or 5, yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's a drug. A drug, in my perspective, is something that has been manipulated into some form of like substance that is clearly negative. Cocaine, heroin, crack.
Fair.
So many fucking pharmaceutical drugs. Those are all drugs to me. Coffee, marijuana, mushrooms. Anything that comes from the earth isn't a drug. It's it's of this earth. I would call it a substance of some kind. And yeah, it can
That's
take someone into a deeper experience of the reality of what they really are. And it can be, anything can be misused.
So drugs and addiction are different.
Yes. So I get triggered whenever someone calls marijuana a drug, or, well, I'm a marijuana partaker and I quite enjoy it. And maybe it is my work to be like I can see how it can be addictive, and I can see how food can be addictive, and an addiction is any repeated behavior that doesn't produce the results you want. So when you have 2 cups of coffee, you're still tired, you have your third, that's probably a little bit too much caffeine for anybody in the day. So it's not producing the results you want, which is to wake up, feel clear, and that's up to you to catch that for yourself.
Mm.
Yeah.
I will agree.
Thanks, man.
I will agree with all
that's
that.
so cool.
And I apologize for calling.
No, don't ever apologize. We're growing into a greater perspective. There's nothing wrong with that.
I just find it so humorous when there's these coffee buildings and there's just lineups of people. There's lineups of cars, and these people potentially can't get through the day without it. And my wife is one of them.
Yeah.
Like
Your
her
wife?
tea.
Oh, tea.
Her and tea, like, if she doesn't have a tea in the morning, watch out.
That's most people.
And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, but or behind her back, but to the point where if she doesn't have that caffeine, it does affect, she can get headaches and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And so, there's actually an element of pride when people say, you don't drink coffee? It's like, no. Well, what do you do in the morning? No, drink water. I don't do anything. I just get out of bed and go.
Yeah.
And even photo, he's just like, what?
Yeah.
He thinks I'm insane.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. And the crazy thing is too, from all the early mornings of working in the golf industry, up at 4:30, 5 o'clock at the course, whatever else, never once had a sip touch these lips.
Wow. Good for
which
you.
is trippy.
Good for you.
And it's not that I don't like the smell or the taste. It's just I don't know why. It just never appealed to me. So,
yeah,
save a few bucks here and there.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely got into coffee out of desperation in those mornings. I remember it vividly. I wasn't a coffee drinker, and I was unwell. Obviously, this was like when I was coming into realizing how bad my health was, and sleep apnea. So I wasn't really sleeping. I was living downtown Toronto. I woke up. I was probably going to bed around 10:30, 11. Waking up at 5 to get, like, we started work at 6 a.m. So 5:45 I had to be there. I was so tired. I had to do something. So I pulled off the highway and went into a drive-through, and I fucking hit the curb. I was so fucking tired. I was falling asleep at the wheel. I hit a curb, popped my tire. And I was like, okay, like I need something because I'm fucked. So I found a convenience store and I started 5 Hour Energy. Ooh. And I started getting fucking anxiety. And I was like, okay, this is clearly not working. And that's when I started looking into Paul Chek, health, and he talked about coffee. He loves his coffee, but he only has 1 espresso a day or he'll get addicted. Mm-hmm. So I was like, fuck, all right. Well, it's a cleaner source of something that's going to support my dream right now. I'm not at the point where, yeah, I needed to keep going. I was in fucking construction. I'm trying to make a living for myself. So went to coffee, and then, yeah, when, Dan and Ariana, they'll point out, like, you should stop smoking pot. And I'm like, probably would be an interesting thing. And, I'll go on vacation. And maybe this is me talking myself out. Trust me, I'm very honest with myself, talking myself out of a problem. But I'm quite aware. And I can take a week off, like say I go on a vacation. I don't think about pot. But I'm more interested in quitting coffee. Because I know for a fact that I am reliant on coffee every day.
That's good perspective and awareness.
It holds way more weight over me than anything else.
Wow.
In my life. Yeah.
The other thing I do respect about it all, it is a ritual for many people. Absolutely. For Terry, being at home, like, before the girls are up in the morning, like, if she has that half an hour just to sit there, even something is holding the warm mug and just the comfort it brings, and just, you kind of grounds her for the start of the day. And I know there's many other people too that it's like journaling. It's a practice for them. It serves them well, and so why not?
Oh yeah, it's absolutely grounding. And as long as it grounds you in your reality, then it has some sort of benefit for you. Yeah. Because most people are so scattered.
Yeah, exactly. That's interesting, though. Yeah. Awareness. It's always about awareness, Justin.
Yeah. I'm addicted to coffee. And it's a lovely thing that I get to treat myself to every day. Something I enjoy. And
something else that is always a beautiful reflection, can be very challenging, is family.
Oh, yeah. What'd you get up to this weekend, Josh?
We haven't really done it annually. I think the last 4 years were a little challenging with all the stuff.
What stuff?
Fuck off. The stuff. The capital S stuff. The vid era. But the Eichenberger family is pretty large. And actually, we might lose this last name soon because there's only a couple males. Yeah. A lot of girls in this new generation. We'll see if they keep the name or not. But
there's only 2 Hyde boys left.
Yeah.
So I feel you.
Mm-hmm. But we used to get together, try to do it annually, and it's just called Burger Fest, and it's just a time for everybody to get together, and it's a good time. And I think
just picture. Sorry,
go ahead.
I picture y'all eating fucking burgers the whole time.
No.
Just like burgers for dinner every night. It's Burger Fest.
No, not quite. Beautiful food though.
Yeah.
But you got me off track now.
Sorry.
I think the last time we all got together, like really, like we did this weekend, was probably 6 years ago. So a lot changes through then, and then even personally, personal development and growth, all that sort of stuff, things change. I mean, we got together last year. We went down and saw my cousins, but it wasn't the whole clan. It was just a few people. Because where my dad grew up, there's still a few cousins that live there or in the area, so it's easy for people to get together. And there is a handful of us that have moved away. But I think just having more awareness and I don't want to say discernment. It's just like things just seem different, and you're just able to dissect. And there's judging going on and assessing, and just now it's curious and wondering how I got to where I am. And you pick up on this. It's like, oh, I have this trait, or oh, that uncle behaves this way or does this. That's how it affects me. I don't know. It's very fascinating. You just look at all the puzzle pieces and you're like, holy shit, you know? It's very revealing. And so the quick story I would tell, and to speak in generality, is my brother Curtis, myself, and brother-in-law Steve went for a run, 10K run on Saturday. And my brother took this torrid pace, like just, I don't know what the fuck he was trying to prove, but he was outrunning Steve. And Steve's he's a very good athlete. And I was falling behind Steve, and so there's a gap between me and my brother Curtis, and I was trying to keep up. My goal was to keep pace, and then maybe the last click or so I would just sprint up and catch up. But I wanted to run my race. But dude, my head was loud, like it was very noisy. And, to the point where I probably ran 3 kilometers of rehearsing what I would say when I got back to the farm, and people would be chirping me about, losing the race, if you want to call it that. And
it was a run.
Huh?
It was a run.
It was, yeah. But it was very fascinating. It was a very interesting journey. And I will say that what I rehearsed didn't have to be used, but I did somewhat get gently chirped later on. And so it was like I manifested to some degree. I wouldn't even say that. It was just, I'm very aware that it was probably going to happen. Mm-hmm. The comments. So, yeah. And the next day when I ran, because I went and ran another 10K on Sunday, and the mind was so much quieter. So I was in my own race. I wasn't thinking it was just me and the road. And I was actually dreaming more into, where I want to go and stuff like that. So it was just very fascinating, the two different days. And then what I'll say lastly is what I also learned is that I was beating myself up for the amount of airtime and rent this person lived in my head rent free. And I started thinking, well, maybe that's not the worst thing, because I was rehearsing comments that could ruin the weekend for everybody, or just myself or in that person, or just say something to be proud of myself, or whatever would be a compliment, whatever it would be that would be kind of gently sarcastic and whatever else. My point was, I recognized that it was a good practice because I cared enough about the situation to take care of everybody and not be selfish and narcissistic and say something that would ruffle anybody the wrong way, right? So I was like, I think it was actually a very good practice. And not that it there's a lot of healing left. It was just an acknowledgement that it's still there, and I have the tools to navigate it, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, and whether I'm telling myself a lie or not, but it just made sense to just process that and be the bigger person and be mature about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Not make it into anything or mean anything to anybody but you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
It's, this conscious Collingwood. So you and I have obviously gone through a little bit of a journey where we wanted to grow and we like to think deeply and be conscious of and aware. And through this evolution, the most resistance I've faced is actually from my family, and maybe that's because those people have meant the most to me throughout my life. So their opinions have the greatest impact.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul always said, like, it's not up to you to change anybody's perspective of you as you go through this evolution of self, but know that when you go home, hold back from being any sort of like preaching or educating or sharing from a place of ego, because it's going to be met with a lot of resistance. Because the people that were closest to you, aka either raised you or grew up with you, are going to feel very uncomfortable with you changing. Because they don't want things to change between you and them. And if they do, what's the potential of that? It's a safety security kind of thing. So I didn't listen, obviously, and had opinions and dove into my ego because COVID was happening at the same simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it brought a lot of disruption to what my family's perspective of me was. So yeah, family is very challenging, and what I learned from that experience was I need to do a lot more just listening and sitting back and knowing that it's not about not having a relationship with them, because that would probably be easier, if you avoid having the relationship and then, you don't. But I think I thought that, but that was also my ego being like, my ego wants to be heard. My ego wants an opinion. Where if I can just not, I don't think that would actually serve the situation at all. Where I can always be myself, who is, silly, fun,
Mm-hmm.
happy, lighthearted, compassionate, empathetic. That's my true nature with my family. And also not always just be myself, but yeah, have boundaries in place when sharing information.
Yeah, and that could be summarized as simple as you can't help those that don't want to be helped.
Yeah.
Right. And so for you to go back and it's coming from a place of love, but they are on their own path and their own journey. And, the be all end all of Justin comes in here, like the know-it-all. It's like, that doesn't work. Right. It just, even though it's coming from a genuine place of love and care, if people aren't willing to hear it,
mm-hmm.
then, so that's where you just have to live your life by example. And they might go, Justin's life seems a little more coherent than mine. Maybe I should have a conversation, or just maybe pay attention more, or whatever, right?
Yeah. Just
But
get curious.
if they feel the need to change or evolve themselves or whatever.
If that episode piques their interest.
It's true. Family's trippy. You know, they say, like, if you think that you've got life figured out, return home. And it will be revealed where you are not free, you know?
God.
I actually saw a clip, and it's just, of course, probably divine timing, but Paul had a post yesterday, I believe it was. I came across it last night. But it was on this topic, and, you know, he said, he was talking about, don't screw this up, Jeff, but just for most people, you know, a mother and a father raised you. And when you return to them and your parents trigger you, it's because they're the ones who installed the buttons.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, I was aware of that, but just the simple phrase you use, it's like they're the ones who installed the buttons.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
I was listening to it this morning, actually.
Yeah.
It's like, when you return home, know that you will be triggered because they installed those triggers, those buttons. And same for siblings.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
They will poke.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the challenge is too, it at least for me personally, it can be very easy to compare, right? And get trapped in that the comparison trap where you're, you know, thinking a relationship should be a different way, or our family should just be this big bubbly thing and no one has any issues. That doesn't exist, right? And so that can be a trap for me. But I also think that because, you know, many of us are, you know, we're all blood related in our family and things like that, that there's this attachment that you're supposed to get along all the time, whatever else. And I don't think that's the way. Like, it is okay to, you know, set boundaries and maybe disconnect and, you know, not have that attachment, because maybe that relationship isn't meant to evolve more than what it was from, you know, I don't know, age of birth to the time you're 30. I don't know, like maybe that's the duration of that relationship. And then from there, it's just, it dissolves or it, whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be perfect until you're not here anymore. So
I was actually listening to a guy who is like a relationship therapist, and he actually had the opportunity he brought his whole family to therapy. Everybody got individual sessions, then they would have group sessions, or like him with his mom, him with his dad, him with his brother, him with his sister, and then everybody together to prepare for the whole together piece. And I was like, that's amazing. But you have to have
the willing parties,
willingness of everybody involved to go down that path. And I think that's really courageous and beautiful.
But how safe would that feel, though, if everybody was participating?
Wow.
You'd just be working through your shit and be like, there'd be like more room for curiosity and less judgment. And it would feel safe because everybody's doing it. And it's like, yeah, that doesn't, it sounds intimidating, but maybe it isn't, because you're all on the same page to some degree.
I think if everybody approached important relationships that way, that's a way to really grow, learn each other, and gain the tools and abilities to have the conscious conversations to move past whatever the tension is.
Yeah.
You know, that's when I have a family, I definitely think I'm going to implement that model at an early age.
Mm-hmm.
Because then everybody's just used to it. And it's like, all right, we're going to go hash things out.
Yeah.
You take your family to therapy, Jeff? Have you ever done therapy?
No.
No talk therapy.
Just this.
Wow.
Conversations with good people and with myself.
When my dad
I would actually be very interested. I actually want almost, I've had this thought of hiring one or finding one just to see if anything does come up. But I don't know. I feel like I'm so introspective that I feel like I therapize myself quite a bit.
See, I have the same.
And I don't say that with any arrogance and stuff like that, but it's like, I don't know if I feel like I'm pretty transparent with those that I feel safe with, and so I don't know what else I would say to a therapist. You know, you'll ask me a good question. Ari will ask me a good question. My wife will ask me a good question. My brother. It's like, I don't know what else would be there to excavate. Like I'm no doubt there is, but, and of course, by my run on Saturday, there was still stuff there, but I'm just just managing it. I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Yeah. So I have the same thoughts, feelings about it, and Ariana challenges me constantly on it. She's like, you should go to therapy. You know, it's had great impacts for her. And also I was with a therapist for 10 years, and that's another conversation. But I do believe that the conversations I do have and the tools and abilities that, you know, Paul's a therapist has given me as a human being allows me to find a lot of peace in my reality. And regardless, there's always things that trigger and things come up, but I feel very confident with my ability to move through them or have a conversation with someone like you or Ariana or Dan or Jess where I can work through it. And I also don't feel like I've been very honest with my whole experience as a human being, that there aren't many things for me to uncover or excavate where it's like, I processed a lot, and I'm not, there's not a lot in the shadow.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is deep stuff. But I was even having the conversation with Jess yesterday where it was like, I was giving her a little massage, and obviously like non-sexual. It's just, you know, I think it's so important to care for each other as in a relationship, and it helps me understand the body. But I was giving her a little massage, and she said, "It's so like, it's interesting how the body holds on to trauma," and I was like, "Yeah, it's amazing." And also, one of the most important things is to always remember its ability to let go of it too, because we can get fixated. Like I hear a lot of people being like, "Have you heard the body keeps the score?" And how the body holds on to trauma. And I think it's important to recognize yes, and its potential to release trauma or release what's not serving anymore. Because it can be detrimental just believing that you have to hold on to trauma, or that the body's holding on to trauma. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. I'm just curious with the therapy stuff. Like, what's the difference between that and listening to, like, one of my online mentors is Peter Crone. Like, if I could ever speak as eloquently, and his ability to dissolve issues in minutes, I just am so fascinated by. And obviously he's got a lot of practice, but to me, watching him, or even the like of a Paul Chek and stuff like that, like, there seems to be an efficiency in getting to the root problem quickly. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I'm just curious what the difference between working with a Peter Crone would be to a psychiatrist or a therapist. Or
so how I've done this for myself, and I've adopted the perspective of like sages and people, wise people, that enlightenment is the place where, and I'm not enlightened. That's not what I'm saying. It's, you want to get to the place where you can have empathy, compassion, and love. If you can see that in another person, it brings a lot of peace, and that's just my experience. And I've gotten that through psychedelic experiences, because I felt what love feels like: compassion, empathy, understanding, respect, whatever that is, for you. And so I've gotten to that place, like with my abusive father, you know, And now I have boundaries in place and we have communication. And I have a relationship with that person where, therapy would be uncovering all that and then probably working on getting to a place where you can have that compassion and understanding and that respect, where you have the boundaries in place to have that ability to communicate. I got to that place on my own with, support and perspective of, I actively engaged with it. Obviously it wasn't easy at the start, but, I worked through it, had perspective from wise people such as yourself, Ariana, Dan, Paul, all the people. And we actually had this conversation recently where it's like, you need coaching or you need external people like helping you uncover things. And I agree with that. But what I was like really like trying to get to, or the point I was trying to get across, was I have a lot of competency,
right?
Competency.
Yeah.
Competency.
Yep.
With my ability to work through things. It wasn't me saying I don't need a therapist. I just think I'd have my way with most therapists. Confidently.
Yeah.
Not to be rude, but I want a really high level therapist if I'm gonna go to therapy, because I've seen behind the veil of therapists, and not to say that everybody needs to do their work, but I want someone of like a Paul Check, or someone that's gone through
someone who's doing the work.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so it's hard for me, especially, previously when I didn't have benefits, to be like, I'm going to interview a bunch of therapists and pay them for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel personally that I'm doing the work quite efficiently and effectively. Doesn't mean it's easy.
No.
But.
And it's also potentially a reliant, like a drug to some degree. You're, like you said, selling your problems to someone else, when if you were just to get real honest with yourself, you could probably find the answer. Now, help is necessary. Like, I wouldn't be where I am without Tammy Foltz, the coach I hired years ago. There's no fucking shot I am where I'm at. That was a stepping stone for me. But now there's nothing more rewarding when I use the word therapize myself, when I work through something and go, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have to go, there's something rewarding about that. And maybe it takes me a little bit longer to uncover it, but that's my journey. And it feels more rewarding to go, that was a mommy or a daddy issue. Or, oh, my brother did do that to me. Or my boss back in the day said this to me and that hurt me here, which caused this layer of defense here. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Oh, but there's nothing for me. Let me just go, I can get some dots.
Yeah.
That's fun. And to add to that too, as I wrapped up Mr. Goggins' book there, one of the things that really validated this conversation that he said was, and again, no offense to therapists, I'm sure there's beautiful ones out there, all that sort of stuff that are very supportive and helpful, but he said, like, to what we're just saying here, how many of them are doing the work? Because potentially that therapist needs a therapist to support them. So it's like, his point was, be your own fucking therapist, be your own doctor. Quiet the mind, go for the runs, and you'll discover yourself, and then you can do what we're just talking about. And when he said that, I was just, I don't know, I just felt supported. I was just like, yeah, that's how I feel. It felt real good to hear that.
Mm-hmm. You know what actually just came to my mind too is, like, I love working with coaches. Like, coaches, great. Yeah, so what I think a quick snippet of like what my process is like, life comes with challenges. It comes with challenging relationships, circumstances, and all that. And your ability to come to peace with those relationships and situations is up to you. And if you need support to uncover that and come to that place quicker, great. If you don't have the tools or the skill set to do so, wonderful. Yeah, that maybe is why you need therapy.
Yeah.
It's not because I don't, but I like to actively work on it myself. I personally like to participate in my life. And I have a good track record of doing it.
Yeah. And what is it like to have people that love you around you to call you out on some of your blind spots or something? That feels healthier and more organic than, potentially.
I have that.
That's what I'm saying. I have it. Yeah.
Like you calling me out the other day or the other week. I love that. And I respect that more because I know you. Do I really know my therapist?
But I'm also witnessing you live day to day, and I can see patterns, and vice versa. You'll see it in me, and Ari's called me out on stuff, and it's just like, it's like, hey Jay, this isn't mathing right now. Yeah, is this accurate? And then you can contemplate it, and
sorry for cutting you off.
No,
but if we go back to, a community and friendship, you want to gather those people around you that are clear and true soundboards for your evolution. Instead of taking the opinions of others that don't actually know who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this comes back to the sense of, just personal responsibility and accountability for your own life. And that's the other thing Goggins was talking about. It's like, again, nothing against therapy, but there's so many accountability coaches out there now and all this sort of stuff. And it blows his mind. It's like, this person is potentially on the couch eating Twinkies. Like, how do you know if they're doing the work or not? They might be good at selling you what you need to do and everything else, but are they actually doing the work? You can't keep yourself accountable. You can't get yourself out of bed to go for that walk or that run or to go to the gym. You can't fucking do that yourself. You need someone to hold you to the fire. Maybe for a little bit, but that's messy,
Yeah. I believe that every human being is sovereign, should be empowered, and should be willing to participate in their life fully. I don't subscribe to the model where you need to externalize that help. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'll speak for myself personally. I've never dealt with any big T trauma. I've never, dealt with any sort of, sexual abuse, physical abuse, anything that's been, super harmful. And so I can only imagine those individuals that have obviously experienced that type of stuff that, listening to Wayne Dyer isn't going to do it. You need to really probably process that and understand maybe why it happened. There's, again, I'm speaking very uneducated here about that type of stuff, but obviously there's got to be something there. But
absolutely, everybody needs support.
Yeah,
and I had a lot of support. It was a different model.
Yeah, but at the same time, when I say that, when I think about someone who I might follow who's gone through that type of stuff, when I listen to someone like Peter Crone, I know that he'd be able to support and help that person. Mm-hmm. Right? And so, anyway, what the fuck do I know?
Yeah.
What do we know, Justin? I know what I know.
I know what I know. But I would even say, you know what? Maybe, just so we're not hypocrites, we should go to therapy. Let's just try it out. Try it on. And then talk about our experience. Mm-hmm. And it's probably not just one session, Jeff.
No, not at all. Yeah.
But I'm
not
close to therapy.
So why are you here? Well, I just want to explore this. So it'd be questioning everything.
I have deep conversations all the time, and I love them.
Yeah,
but
well, maybe if someone has one they can recommend, they can
Please,
Throw it away.
if somebody has a good therapist.
I'm gonna edit this, but I gotta go and come back.
Whoa, that's the first one.
That's the first one. Yeah, pause the tape.
Buddy.
Are you okay?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I might just talk solo here.
Dude, I can go for another hour or two now.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I might have a little break, but I got to climb at 11.
Do you think we just shit all over therapists without knowing anything?
No, I think this is a very honest conversation. It's not like, it doesn't finish here. And it's not the truth is my opinion is never closed. And I think that's also very important, to never close an opinion, because if you close an opinion, it becomes a belief. And belief systems are dangerous. So I'm actively exploring this concept of therapy and my past triggers that have arose. My first glimpse into therapy was, I was physically handled as a child by my biological father, and he was a very intense individual. And so they thought it was good to put me in a group therapy session with a bunch of kids that also were navigating physical whatever you want to call it, abuse. And that was an enjoyable experience. That shit was mayhem. I sat there and watched these kids fucking jump and just lose themselves. So they wanted attention. And obviously, when we look at it, never mind, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But that was not an enjoyable experience for me. So I sat there, watched that shit, and knew I didn't belong here. So didn't enjoy that experience. Then I went back to therapy on my own accord after a breakup. And this was like way, way back. I would even say like 2016. And so the funny thing is, that therapist said, she's like, seems like you got a good dial on things. And I was like, wow, thanks. So that wasn't helpful. And then, dude, and I wish that was a fucking joke. Like, I wish I told that story to people and people were like, nah, Yeah. Like, come on. That's what that therapist said to me. So,
so your ego got inflated, and then you.
Well,
just
I wouldn't even say that. It's just it
confirmed your belief in yourself.
It confirmed my belief in understanding the reality of what was happening, and then I dated a therapist, and the ending of that is for me to know, and I got to hang out with a bunch of therapists and see the behind the curtain of all that. So, yeah, a little bit jaded around therapy in my experience, but it's not a closed opinion. I'm still willing to explore that for myself. It's just, this is me coming to greater understanding and being honest. I'm a man, so I have fucking strong opinions. I'm okay with it too, but they're not closed opinions. Yeah, I'm still willing to broaden my perspective always. Yeah.
Well, good for you, Justin.
How about you, Josh? Are you open, or are you fucking done with therapists?
Am I what?
Just kidding.
I actually this weekend recognize being around the family. I'm closed in a couple areas where I probably need to be a little softer, but again, that those two words are big for me right now when it comes to my life. Is just the sense of responsibility and accountability. It's just be responsible for your life. And you see some people that aren't, and it's just fucking try. can you just try? Like, there's people that really suffer physically, from a handicap, or they're born a certain way or whatever else, or they've, developed something, and they'd give anything just to work through that and have the physical ability to just fucking try. Have some gratitude, worship this meat suit for what it can do, and take, treat it as a temple. Maybe abuse it from time to time. It wants to party, let's fucking party.
Yeah.
But everything in moderation to some degree.
Yeah.
But, So, I had our beautiful Aunt Penny. She has dealt with rheumatoid arthritis for probably the last almost 60 years. And as I understand, she used to run the track. She was athletic, everything. And then just one day, this chronic disease caught hold of her. I don't know why or whatever else, but she has literally been a pincushion, a test dummy, a guinea pig for the medical industry for the last number of years, right? And she's worked through a lot of pain, and she's, her body has not deteriorated, but just, it's succumbed to the arthritis. And I had a couple beautiful conversations with her, and I've always wanted to praise her, but I just told her before, but I think it's just been rehearsed in my head. But I had the opportunity to say this to her, and I just whenever I am, in a situation in pain, or I'm not feeling a victim, but I just might be feel like I'm down on my luck or something. She is an inspiration to me, because I've never once heard this woman complain about anything in her life, the pain, her circumstance, or nothing. She had lost our cousin Nikki, lost her to cancer. Like, she's had loss in her life, plus the loss of her own physical capabilities, but she still participates in church, the Legion. And when I was talking to her this weekend, what I recognized was just how vibrant her eyes were and her face were. She's still sharp as a tack, even though her body is, doing its thing. And I don't know, I just found so much beauty and grace in that. And just having a deep conversation with her, and I just praised her, and she appreciated it, and it was nice to share that, because it was on my heart for a long time, and I don't know why I had never done it before, but I guess this weekend was the right time. And same thing with her husband, Vern, who's been by her side through thick and thin. And I complimented that as well, because it's that's a special person who, is just there for it all, and anyway, so again, talking about the puzzle pieces in the family, and some of the really beautiful stuff, and then some of the chaotic stuff, whenever else, it's just, it makes this fucking family blanket, right? This crochet, or this woving of everything. It's just what, makes us Eichenbergers, I suppose, or what makes you Hydes and whoever else is in your family. And
we're Sonodas too.
Yeah. And it's funny, because I've really tried to not detach myself from the last name, in the sense of, even I'm going to get too crazy here, but the identity of being a Canadian or a German or a Frenchman, it's we're all fucking humans. There's these boundaries and these limitations on us all, right? So it's but there is something about our last name and what the family kind of stands for. There's a lot of entrepreneurial in the family, leadership. Like my grandmother used to lead the church and lead the Legion. Like, she was the matriarch of her town, really. And I look at all the volunteering that happens in our family and stuff like that, right? And so I have a lot of pride in that, and same thing as a Canadian. It's just there's something about the true essence and culture of this country that I hold close to, but I don't need to subscribe to everything else. But anyway, all I have to say is just there's a lot of beauty and messiness in it all, and I'm kind of proud of it all. If I really step back and reflect on it.
Yeah,
and I'm very blessed to have that, because not everybody has that.
Yeah. You're
right.
Absolutely blessed to be able to see it too.
No offense, and my mom's side of the family won't watch this, but I mean, there's just no, thankfully enough in the Eichenberger side, there's enough glue, there's enough adhesion to bring us back together and to allow this to happen. The other side of the family, non-existent, which is unfortunate, but it doesn't exist. So there's a lot of gratitude there that this still happens.
Actually, it came to my mind yesterday. It was like you and I were talking about some of the challenging things in coming back to a family gathering or whatever. And my one reflection before or after.
And to add on, Justin was in the same boat because he was away with family this week.
Yeah,
that wasn't really stated.
I was away with my family. It was the first time, probably in 10 years, that we were all together. But spending more time celebrating the beauty of family coming together than the triggers. I got to sing and dance with my sisters and my brothers and watch my nana dance and watch my cousin get married, and so beautiful and such special moments and memories. So yeah, it was really beautiful and special. And then I actually want to almost like rewind a little bit, because I think one thing that I have always, since evolving myself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, is something I've always wanted, especially as a child, was just to be enough. And so I'm in a way better place than I ever was. I'm a more loving, compassionate, empathetic human being. And I'm truly so proud of that for myself. So when someone says, like, you need therapy, or like, you should go to therapy, it'll be good for you, it triggers me in the sense of like, aren't I enough? And aren't I doing a great job as I am right now? Yeah. And that just came to me there. It was like, that's the trigger. That's why when Ariana or somebody says, you should go to therapy, like, you need therapy, like, you're not evolving. That's not what she says, but that's like my read into it. It is, the trigger for me is like, aren't I enough, and aren't I doing a great job as I am? Because let's rewind the tape for a second. I've done a lot, and I've come a long ways from where I was. So yeah, I recognize that and being proud of myself for it. So yeah, therapy with you guys. Yeah, therapy with Jeff. And it's just through deep conversations. And I hope that people, don't turn off the podcast too fast when in the previous conversations, like if they truly believe in therapy and are triggered by what we're saying, because that's a high potential. I hope that people listen long enough to actually hear the whole conversation instead of turn it off due to a trigger.
Dude, you might be accurate there too. Is in an individual requires a therapist because they don't, and this is just a thought, because they don't have that strong, trustworthy community or 2 or 3 people around them to really open up and share. It's too private. They need to really, I don't know.
Or they're learning how to take full responsibility for themselves. Like you said, when you start taking full accountability and responsibility for yourself and your actions, that's a learned process. I think we grow up in a society where a lot of things are expected. Like, I deserve. I think one of the greatest travesties and something we're going to have to navigate in the society, especially with the kids growing up, is this sense of
it's entitlement.
You know?
Dude, I was there. That was my big problem. with, working so hard landscaping and whatever else. I just, I've been grinding and feel like I'm doing all the right things. But at the same time, feel like I'm skating in sand going like, where's all the shit? I've been in business for 8 years and I'm fucking doing all this, and where's all the money? Where's all this and that? Like my ego was completely out of whack. Like just fucking off the charts. When it took a big wake up call to go, oh, we need to do some work here, bitch. There were some whispers, there were some nudges. My body was talking to me, but I wasn't listening. And then, started to do the work, and it's like, ooh, yeah. Fucking universe doesn't owe me anything.
No, nobody owes you anything.
Nobody owes me anything.
Yeah.
And that's where just gratitude grounds me. It's just like I have a roof over my head, beautiful family.
You owe yourself a lot.
Food I don't even have to goddamn grow or harvest. I just go to the store. That's the fact that any of us complain is ridiculous, right? It's so ridiculous. Yeah. But that was me. 7 to 8 years ago, that was me. Finding reasons to complain, being a bit of a victim. And I wasn't always that way, but it's like just that entitlement grew.
Of course.
I was a driven athlete and, went to school, all that sort of stuff. And it wasn't never really there. It was when I got into business and it was like doing all this stuff and, not knowing what delayed gratification was.
Yeah.
Right? Expecting it to come. Having a mentor that had a Lamborghini and a house in the water and a fucking boat on wheels and going, this guy did it, but I'm not knowing that this guy might have had sacrificed more, lost his family a little bit, and maybe it took him 30 years to get all that. Mm-hmm. Although he did tell me he was a millionaire by the time he was 35, so that was in my head. Oh,
fucker!
Oh, fuck! I'm late.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, shit. I'm not there yet.
Should be here by now.
Yeah,
that's funny.
But we were also in different industries. I was in, I created a seasonal business that was super niche.
Yeah.
He was a millwright where he had work coming out of the yin yang. Like it's totally, that's the harm in comparing yourself, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I could talk forever about that stuff, but it comes down to, for me, it comes down to simplicity and being where my feet are and just having gratitude.
Yeah.
And the more I slow down, it feels like the faster I speed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful. It's true.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think my healing, something I'm definitely going to be pondering is like this whole, I just want to be enough. And being enough